using their platforms. COSA already passed the Senate, and a House version cleared the Energy and Commerce Committee this week.
It's a major positive step.
Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal authored the bipartisan Senate bill, saying it's essential to protect minors online. But critics like the Electric Frontier Foundation call it a censorship bill that gives the government the power to, quote, target services and content it finds objectionable. The bill now needs to pass the full House. On Capitol Hill, Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Some Amazon workers are about to get a raise and a perk.
Amazon is raising base pay for its fulfillment and transportation workers. It's going up by $1.50 an hour to more than $22 an hour, or $3,000 a year for those working a 40-hour week. Also, hourly team members in the U.S. will receive Prime membership at no additional cost for as long as they are part of the Amazon team. Amazon announced the raise in a blog post. The company is one of the largest private employers in the U.S. with more than 800,000 people working at its distribution centers and delivery service. Amazon says the pay increase will cost the company more than $2.2 billion. Ginny Cosola, Fox News.
Nearly 138,000 platform beds sold at major retailers, including Amazon and Walmart, are being recalled in the U.S. and Canada because they can collapse, posing fall and injury risks. Utah-based importer CVB is recalling the Lucid branded platform beds with an upholstered square tufted headboard. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission and Health Canada say the beds can sag, break, or collapse during use. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Hello, folks. This is Mike Tyree with 8 Oaks Recovery Hour. I'm so glad that you are here to join us and to listen to us today. We have a special guest with us. I'll introduce him in just a moment. But if you're not familiar with us, 8 Oaks is a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center and a recovery center, and we.
Now we're on. There's a disclaimer up there too that you gotta play. It's Blake's disclaimer. I think he's coming, but he's running late.
I was going to say he's not really here, so maybe he could just give a live one when he gets here.
That's just as much fun. That's just as much fun watching him give his disclaimer. Then he gets tongue-tied and he can't remember.
Y'all make sure he does that live when he gets here. Brandon, that's your job.
Brandon Taylor, glad to have you here.
Hey,
We're missing one. Grooms said, well, let me read the text. He either said he wasn't coming or he's running late. Might be late, bro. Bro? Does anybody say bro anymore? I thought that was when you said gnarly and
now they mainly say bruh.
Bruh. Since you're a captain at the police department, I'll let you slide on calling me bro.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. You know,
I was at the dentist.
We're close enough. What did they tell you? You need false teeth?
They told me I need therapy. That's what they told me.
You go to the dentist and they diagnose you with something that needs therapy. That's when you know you got some problems, man.
You got issues. We can't help you. So if I talk a little weird, it's the therapy.
Therapy and you got worms.
Right. That's even better.
You got worms and you need therapy. I love it.
How are you, Sheriff?
I'm good. I have no complaints.
Oh, good.
I have zero complaints. I'm good. You know, we got little ups and downs every day, but you know what? We're in good shape. Things are good. What about you?
Well, I'm on night shift now.
I heard.
That's a little weird.
I heard.
And now, don't get me wrong. If I wasn't married, didn't have a small business, didn't have kids, I'd prefer to be on night shift.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my gosh, with a 3 and a 5-year-old, and I don't sleep like I used to, so I'm tired. I need a break.
Did y'all work that wreck on 64?
See, I heard there was a bad one last night. I haven't worked in about 4 days.
It was on Fall River Road. I was just listening to the e-dispatch. Me and Brandon was talking just as you was coming in about the wrecks here lately. We've got a 4-wheeler wreck versus a car on Bluff Road down on the side of Loretta. Young juveniles hurt really bad. I was listening to the radio traffic when I pulled up. But you know, it's weird how wrecks come in spurts. Is it not?
It is, and you're exactly right.
It's not like one this week and one next week and one the next week. It's like bam, bam, bam. You'll have 2 or 3 or 4 over 1 or 2 days, and then it'll be quiet for a little while. But I don't know what it is about the bypass in Fall River Road. I don't understand why we're having so many. I mean, that's a fatality. The one we had yesterday was a fatality. 18-wheeler hit a car. I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know what's causing it. I mean, you can see both ways. I mean, for a while. Yeah, and an 18-wheeler is. Something that you don't normally miss.
That's right.
Right. I mean, it's not like a motorcycle or something. So I don't know.
But with that being said, look at how many people pull out in front of 18-wheelers. You remember them two 80-year-old men up around the summertime Mount Pleasant line? Two, I believe they were late 70s, early 80s. Sitting there, maybe Rockdale Hill, and just pulled right out in front of an 18-wheeler. Didn't.
I don't know if they misjudge the speed or they don't think that they're in the lane that they're pulling out. I don't know. I think the bottom line is you got to come to a complete stop. Yeah, anywhere on the bypass, whether it's out west or out east, when you're pulling up to get on the 4 lane, you got to come to a complete stop, and you got to look both ways when you pull out. Take your time, stay off your daggum phone.
Right.
I was driver safety instructor for the Postal Service for Tennessee District for years and almost a decade. And so we worked a lot of accidents. We did their accident investigation for postal anything postal road. Middle Tennessee was my district, yeah. So seen a lot of accidents, did a lot of investigation on those, and it was majority of the ones we worked were they would not clear a blind spot. So they would have look left, look right, look left again, but they wouldn't clear a blind spot. And then that oncoming traffic would be in the blind spot. And that was one of the number one reasons we had accidents, or they do have accidents in the Postal Service even now.
I tell the guys, we have our mandated driving every year, state mandates that we have, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 6 hours of some kind of defensive drive, and EVOC, what they call it, Vanessa free. But I always tell the guys, before you put it in drive, when you start it up, before you put it in drive, put your seatbelt on and check your mirrors. That'll save you a lot of little fender benders if you'll just check your mirrors before you put it in reverse.
A lot of people think, and I didn't know this until just a few years ago, have you ever noticed how AT&T or Spectrum will get out, and the first thing they do is they put an orange cone?
When I worked for AT&T, you'd get rolled up if you didn't have them cones.
See, I'm thinking, well, that's so people can't park close to you. But come to find out, the whole meaning behind that, it makes that employee do a lap around the vehicle to check for anything in your blind spots. That way you don't back up or side swap anything that you didn't know was there.
Yep.
So we've got echo. We're going to be in a cave for a while.
Charlotte's on it. Charlotte's on it. Well, I said she's on it.
I'm on something.
She's flipping switches. It's like she's in the space shuttle about to launch.
Yeah, we could do a countdown.
Well, I don't know. It's been a while since we've been in here. Should we just stop talking?
No, you're good.
Do sign language across the table?
So, I mean, even if we don't sound good, we can talk.
I know. I know what it
It's
is.
all these little
I know what it is.
You figured it out?
I figured it out.
So yeah, we would work a lot of accidents. Seen a lot of terrible accidents during my time there. Because we would have. You were just talking about Blake having that cone out there. So we were always, postal workers always on the shoulder of the road. They don't have a cone. They're in the worst spots.
Yes, sir.
I would always have a saying, you drive down the road, you see a sign that says blind drive ahead. We know that's a blind driveway. But at the end of that driveway, there'd be a mailbox. And so we had carriers that would have to stop in those terrible blind spots. And so we were constantly working that. That was always a situation we were always dealing with.
Does you may know, does the academy still talking about being on the side of the road? I saw an officer
last week, I think it was,
parked halfway into the slow lane on the 4-lane. I mean, they had their emergency equipment on. It was a traffic stop, and it looked like they were backing up another officer that had a traffic stop, so they rolled up.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the owl?
It was the owl.
Got it. Thank you. But anyway, in the academy they teach you as you rolling up behind the vehicle, and they're stopped on the shoulder. Right when you're pulling up, you cut your wheels to the left and you angle your vehicle just a pretty good bit. And they teach you that so you can hide behind the engine block if you start taking fire from the vehicle. That was what they always said, right?
Well, that was always brought up. That was brought up at the academy. But whenever we got to driving week, and our driving instructor was a retired driving instructor from FLETC. And that's one of the things that he talked about angling the patrol car is to just give that officer just a wee bit more protection from traffic coming behind him. He said, but a smart police officer is going to do a passenger side approach. He was a big fan of getting away from that driver side approach. But that's one thing he did say is that right as you're about to throw it in drive, angle the front of your car.
I do not agree with that. I do not agree with putting any part of your vehicle in the lane of travel. I mean, I get the point of giving you some protection, but if you're all the way off as far as you can be, and you're conducting your traffic stop from the passenger side window, like you said, I mean that's what I've done my whole career.
Right.
Then you've got all that protection. And anyway, I said something to the officer. I said, do they still teach that to put your vehicle in the lane of travel? And they said, yeah. We want that. And I said, why would you want your vehicle hit? It only makes sense to get it as far off the shoulder as you can so it don't get hit. If it's in the lane of travel, where cars are driving, nobody's driving down the breakdown lane. They're driving in a lane of travel. And if your vehicle is partially in the lane of travel, then in my opinion, that's a problem. And anyway,
especially if somebody's not paying attention, like a lot of people do, your cruiser could likely get hit.
I'm going to teach a block of instruction to the guys. We've got October. We've got some training coming up, and I was talking to our training lieutenant, and we've got DUI stops as one of the blocks of instruction. I said, give me a 4-hour block, 2 days, to teach traffic stops. And he kind of looked at me, and he don't know my full background. And I said, trust me, I'm certified to teach this. I taught this for years. I'll dig out all my old training material. I said, but I worked the interstate for 7 years with the task force. 7 years, every day, 4 days a week. That's what we done. We was assigned to the interstate. I said, so I know my way around traffic stops.
Mm-hmm.
I may not know domestics. I may not know a few other issues, but I know traffic stops. And so anyway, he's got me penciled in. So I'm going to be giving. The sheriff is going to be teaching. What about that?
See, that's the great thing about interdiction. And as we've said many times before, a criminal interdictor is just a different type of police. And it doesn't matter if you were running interdiction last week, 3 years ago, or in your case, like 30-something years ago. It's the same thing. I mean, the game ain't changed. You're reading people who are trying to hide criminal behavior and guilty conscience, and then you just go from there.
It's a pretextual stop, and I don't know. I would almost guarantee that there's been some court opinions and some case law changes on it, but I checked into it 3 years ago, and I mean that Supreme Court ruling from 2000 or 99 or something. I think it's United States versus Wren, WREN. That was the big one about pretextual stops. Are you familiar with pretextual? It's pretextual stops. That case, that court opinion basically said that a law enforcement officer can stop a vehicle as long as he has a legal reason to stop that vehicle, and his intentions or motivations for stopping that vehicle are irrelevant.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
Big
so
decision.
if I think you robbed a liquor store at the exit down the road, I can question you about that if I have a legal reason to put you on the shoulder.
And so this is always going to be a hot button issue.
Politically,
it's a nightmare.
It's been fought, and and there's not as many interdiction units out there anymore because of all the social injustice and the racially. I mean, you can profile, and I tell my guys this all the time. Profile in traffic is a very effective way of law enforcement. You just can't racially profile.
Sure.
You can't profile somebody because of their religion or their race or anything else.
Right, and no one should. We agree on that.
But profile in traffic is, man, I'm telling you, once you get, and it's a little different, Blake can tell you, it's a little different because we were looking for traffickers and couriers and large amounts of drugs and money. So the indicators are a little different on the interstate than here locally. But, I mean, they still work. They're still effective. And you just got to be picky about what you stop, and that's what I want to push to the guys.
Well, you guys talking about traffic stops. You guys are cops, of course, and you've got decades of doing this.
He's a cop. I'm a sheriff.
Tons of history. Blake is law enforcement, and John Myers is just a sheriff.
He's a politician.
He's a volunteer.
I'm sorry, I had to say.
But he's a politician. I like that. I caught that. That was funny. So I always think about when you do those traffic stops and people refuse to even comply with the police at all, and they're not wanting to roll the window down. They're basically just being defiant, even if they're not. Even if, maybe they don't have drugs in the car, they're not a murderer, maybe they're just stopped for speeding or changing lanes inappropriately, I don't know, not signaling, whatever it could be, running a stop sign. People will not get out of the car. And then you see them on the news. We've just seen this issue on the news about this, football player literally pulled out of the car, refused to get out of the vehicle. I mean, do you guys see that a lot in our area? Is that a common?
So it's here. Okay.
More than we used to.
A lot more. And I get it's frustrating. It's very frustrating when you walk up to a vehicle and they roll down their window about an inch and a half, and just right off the bat, before they even open up their mouth, you're like, this is going to be one of them stops.
Right.
And it's why have you arrested me? Sir, this is not an arrest. This is a traffic stop. What crime have I committed? You've committed no crime. You've just had a minor violation of our traffic laws. And it just, one thing right after the other. And next thing you know, it just gets ugly. It really does. But it's here. Thankfully, we don't have any disrespectful NFL players living in Lawrenceburg because and race is totally out the door. There are a lot of people in this country right now making big money who just think they can act whatever way they want to, and that's not the case. I tell my guys, I want you to go out and treat people as good as they will let you treat them.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, try to treat them even better than that.
And to the listeners, if you get stopped by police, sheriff, or trooper, just be polite. I mean, we all have bad days. And I know sometimes you're having a bad day and getting stopped makes it even worse. And I tell a lot of the younger deputies, just give people a second opportunity to make another impression, because they could be having a really, really bad day when you get up to that window. But don't get your feathers ruffled. Don't get mad. Don't do something stupid and get yourself jammed up. Because like you said, it's just a traffic violation. And if you get stopped and you don't agree with what's happening, that is not the time to disagree.
I understand.
To the point to where it becomes an issue.
So as a traffic stop, is that is that considered an active investigation at that point?
It's a detainment.
A detainment.
Yeah, when we stop you, when we initiate, there's levels of detainment. For example, you have a casual encounter.
Sure.
Like if I'm sitting in a Quick Mart, no blue lights, no sirens, and you pull up and I smell the odor of drugs or alcohol coming from your vehicle, and I walk up to you and say, "Hey, can I talk to you just a minute?" And you say, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I haven't detained you. Even though the law, I'm in I've got a badge and I've got a gun, I haven't detained you. It's a consensual encounter.
Right.
The law is clear that when I initiate my blue lights, I've detained you. I've detained you. You're not free to leave. And that's what you get from some people. That's the question out of their mind. Why am I being detained?
Well, why do they not teach how an operator of a vehicle, why are they not putting that as part of a written test on a driver's license exam? Why is that not something? It seems to me that would be really important. How to interact with law enforcement.
Can you imagine how that would be picked?
The common sense behind that question.
Can you imagine how that would be picked apart?
Possibly, but if you just said if you are stopped, in a situation, explain what it is. It's a detainment. You're not being arrested. It's not an active investigation. They're stopped. Why is that not part of the written test that we take? I mean, I've been driving for a few years. I think I took my driver's license test in 1995, but I remember one of the ones I missed on there, and I think I was 15. Taking the test, getting a permit, and I missed one about a car seat law at that time. And I was 15, but I thought it was funny that they would want me as 15 years old to understand what a car seat law should be. To me, I think it's more important to have a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old just starting to drive. How do they act during an interaction with police officers? Should they be stopped? Why is that not part of some sort of teaching? Driver's ed school? Why is it not part of it?
Have you seen the Chris Rock? The old Chris
how
Rock.
Not to get whooped by the police.
Have you seen it?
I've never seen it.
Next time you get a chance, get on YouTube, and it's Chris Rock, how not to get your beat by the police.
Yeah.
Watch that. It's epic. It's one of the funniest things you'll ever watch.
But
it's, I mean, there's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah, a lot of old truth behind it. Something Biden kind of got on a soapbox about was how, there are some black families out there that have to have the talk with their children whenever it comes to interacting with law enforcement. My question is, why are our white and brown and other families not having this talk?
Sure.
The respect level is pretty much out the window. It's amazing. Our teenagers, how many times you'll walk up to a car and it's like, what the blankety blank did I do? And it's like, man, you're 16 years old, and this is how you say hello, especially to a cop, know.
And they know we got to behave now.
Yes.
Because back in the day, they got snatched through the vent window and bounced off the pavement back then. And kids knew that, and parents knew that if you got in a police officer's face and you got dumped, then If you came home and you had skid marks on the side of your cheek and you said, well, I got smart with the police officers and they bounced me off the pavement, people back then would say, yeah, that's what happens. Now you know. The difference now and then is now they say, oh, you got to get an attorney, man. They can't do that.
Right.
That was unnecessary force. Let's call what's his face in Nashville and get him to take the case.
Well, anytime I pulled over and I've been stopped, I mean, I drive typically right now. I'm driving somewhere around 3,000 miles per month. Wow. So I mean, I'm on the highways, I'm on interstates, I'm on 2-lane roads, and I get stopped. Sometimes I'm not paying attention, or in particular, last time I was stopped by a Tennessee state trooper on Highway 7 earlier this year, and I mean, I just wasn't. I usually set my cruise because I'm the kind of guy, just my brain, I'm wandering, and I got to focus on what I'm doing. So set the cruise, I won't speed. And I got stopped by a state trooper. When I pull over, here's the way I handle it every time. I roll down all the windows on the vehicle. I turn the vehicle off, because if you're standing outside of the vehicle, I think the cop's not going to be able to hear me. I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying. I don't want you to say, if I say I have 5 sons, I don't want you to think I said I have 5 guns. I don't want you to understand what I'm trying to say. And so I turn the vehicle off. I have my driver's license in my hands, and I put my hands on the steering wheel. The one thing I don't do, and you guys can tell me if I'm handling this the correct way, should I get out my handgun carry permit and have it out as well?
I mean, that's.
I never do. I never talk about it.
It's always nice to say. I mean, we expect every vehicle we stop now to have a gun in it.
Yep. Okay.
Just because of the constitutional carry law, and I mean, we expect everybody to have a gun on their person or in the vehicle. Mm-hmm. But it's always nice to hear the operators say, "Hey, I've got my gun in here, just letting you know."
Right.
So I like 2 ways. If you're going to get your stuff out, please have it out before I even get up to your car. Mm-hmm. I mean, as soon as you put it in park, get your driver's license and have it ready. Mm-hmm. Because the last thing we want is to approach your vehicle and you be reaching for something.
That's right.
Okay?
Yeah, I don't want to be digging in the glove box while you're walking up.
Right. And then me and Maddie had a show about a year ago because somebody, I don't know, was going on vacation or another golf trip, whatever he does. We talked about traffic stops.
Can't imagine who.
Yeah, right. Only 3 people in here. But anyways, I was telling Maddie that day that when it comes to a traffic stop, a lot of the time slower is better. Mm-hmm. So there is nothing wrong with just keeping your hands on that wheel until I get up there. And then, 1, I'm going to introduce myself, okay? 2, I'm going to tell you why I stopped you. And 3, I'm going to request some documents from you. And I love the respect from some of these people out here that have their hands on the wheel. And when I ask for their driver's license, they say, yes, sir, it's in my back left pocket. Is it okay if I get that now? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my gosh, somebody who understands.
Yeah.
And another reason why I like that is because if they tell me it's in their back left pocket and they start reaching under the seat, that's a clue.
Sure.
Well, not there. I'm gonna say not all of them. There's a handful of officers, law enforcement officers in this county that are walking up to a vehicle and in their mind the driver's getting a ticket. Mm-hmm. Not all of us, but there's a handful that when they stop you, you're getting a ticket. Mm-hmm. They don't care if you're late for your daddy's funeral, if your wife's giving birth. There's a handful of them that have that mentality.
Yeah.
Most of us are walking up to a vehicle 50-50. Depending on the violation. Now, I mean, if you're doing something really stupid, yeah, you can pretty much expect you're getting a ticket. But if you're a few over, you was on your cell phone, or you weren't buckled up or something, I don't think there's but a handful in this county that are hell bent on giving a ticket when they get up there. Mm-hmm. So how you communicate with that officer could very well depend on whether you leave with a $200 or $300 ticket or a verbal or written warning.
That's been my experience.
If you pop off pretty smart right off the bat, there's a 99% chance you're getting a ticket,
Yeah.
and you're probably going to get multiple. And the more you pop off, the more tickets you're going to get, because they're going to start looking for every single thing that they can find.
Dispatch, will you check for warrants?
They are. They're going. I mean, you got a little dust on your tag that you can't read your wheel tax to. I mean, everything. They're going to hook you up. So the more you show your butt, the more tickets you're going to get. And not all the time. If you're nice and polite, are you going to get a warning? Sometimes you're going to get that officer that, like I said, he's got it in his mind. You're getting a ticket. Doesn't matter how nice and polite you are. I think y'all have heard the story. I mean, when you get to mine and Blake's age, and you've been doing this long enough.
Like, you're old enough to be my dad.
When you're old enough, when you're my age.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. You
Like
just look older than you are.
Gut punch. That's because I work hard, okay?
That night shift.
Yeah, night shift
gets you.
I mean, I look at you and I think we started around the same time. Then you have to remind me. But anyway, now when I get stopped, and I hadn't been stopped in a while, but now when I get stopped, I'm critiquing.
Sure.
I'm critiquing what he's doing and how he's, and sometimes that don't always go over pretty good.
But with all that being said, we're sitting here talking about how people need to be whenever it comes to being pulled over. I'll go a step further and say we got some police out here that needs a little bit better attitude when they pull people over.
Sure they do.
Again, that gun and that badge does not give you the right to be mean to somebody or take advantage of their rights. So, one thing I cannot stand is, to see another police officer, like, just walk up to the vehicle and be like, you were speeding, give me your license. It's like, we don't want them to start it off that way when it comes to us, and we don't need to be that way whenever it comes to them.
Yeah.
So, to some of my grouchy police people out there, cheer up, Buttercup.
Well, we had one in this county that was known, and he's no longer here. Matter of fact, I heard he passed away a year or two ago. I'm not going to say his name, but I think most people would know who he was. But he stopped a lot of cars, and he wrote a lot of tickets, and he didn't care, like I said, if you was going to the hospital or what. And not only did you get a ticket, you got a butt chewing to go with it. And nobody wants both.
Right.
Nobody wants both.
That's like a rule.
Nuh-uh.
Give me one,
give me one or the other.
Don't give me both.
Lay it on me, or just go back and write me a ticket. And I'll run by City Hall and pay it before I leave town. But yeah, I don't think there's as many like there used to be. But I've got a couple old school deputies that'll chew you out. I mean, they'll let you have it.
Hey, I did last week. We had a car full of teenagers. And they pulled right out in front of this lady, and thankfully everybody was wearing their seatbelt, or it'd have probably been a pretty bad wreck. And mamas and daddies, everybody shows up to the scene, and we get it all straightened out. And I just walk up to them, I just open up with, I used to be a dumb teenager at one time too. Can I talk to you just for a minute? And they just turn their head when that phrase got everybody's attention. And it's like one of the things about being a dumb teenager is you don't pay attention. And I said that's exactly what happened here. And luckily, she got your rear end instead of totally T-boning or hitting you head on, because it was down south where they was pulling left off of the turning lane, and right there in front of their parents. And after I got through done, no cursing, no talking down to anybody. It's just, we got to pay attention, so on and so forth. And it was actually kind of nice, a couple of the parents was like, thank you. They need to hear that from somebody besides mom and daddy. And I didn't give a ticket because, again, that's kind of the unwritten rule.
Takes too long.
I mean, it does.
Takes too long. Takes too much out of your time. I stopped some people from Alabama on Buffalo Road. This has been quite a while ago. Tourists, looking for Amish stuff, and I wasn't in a good mood. I can't remember what had me in kind of a pissy mood, but I wasn't in a good mood, and we was. And I was coming down Buffalo, and there was like 5 cars stacked up in front of me. So I'm thinking it's an Amish buggy. And a lot of the tourists, they won't go around an Amish buggy.
Right.
They'll take pictures and point.
Yeah, they're videoing with their phones.
It's like look at the aliens. You know, they've never seen a horse and buggy. But anyway, as I get up there and I'm starting to get impatient and I'm thinking, well, this isn't a buggy, this is somebody, and I whip over into the other lane to take a look, and I see it's a car and it's stacked full of people, and it's 41 Alabama tags.
41 Alabama.
And so anyway, they get up to another area of Buffalo Road, and what they're doing is they're stopping in the middle of the road and reading the Amish signs at the end of the driveways.
Wow.
You know, the ones that said okra and corn and
furniture.
Yeah. And so anyway, somebody in the cars behind them starting to get mad, and they're gunning it and going around. And finally, I hit my blue lights, and I get up there behind it, and they pull off the shoulder. And it was a young couple driving and an elderly couple in the back seat. And I mean, I didn't chew them out. I said, and they probably thought I was, but I said, "What are you doing?" And she looks at me and she's holding her driver's license. I said, "I don't want to see your driver's license. What are you doing?" And she said, "Well, we were driving." And I says, "No, you're not.
This ain't driving."
I said, "You're stopping in the middle of the road. Why are you stopping in the middle of the road?" And she said, "Well, we was reading." And I said, "Do you do that on your road where you live? Do you stop in the middle of the road?" "No, you don't." "Why are you doing it on my road?" And I just kept leveling it. And I said, "You can't do this." I said, "You're going to get somebody killed. Somebody's going to rear end you, and it's going to be their fault."
Right.
You know? And anyway, she was tearing up when I got done, and I started feeling bad, so I told her to go home. So I got a little bit of heart.
Did you tell her to have a nice day?
Maybe. I was still kind of
I
mad.
hope so.
I was still kind of mad.
Well, you know, there's times when you see people, and I'm not a police officer, never been a police officer, but I see people when I'm driving, I'm thinking, where's the cops at when you need one? You know, you see those types of situations, and so I think if you see someone driving and behaving that way behind the steering wheel, I think you should pull them over, and I think a lecture is better than a ticket. I'm just being honest.
Sure, they remember a lecture more than they do a ticket.
So, I don't know if I told you, my dad was a police officer, and he one of the better pieces of advice he gave me was, if you can give somebody a ticket and it have the same effect or better, or excuse me, if you can give somebody a warning that would have the same effect on that person or better than giving them a citation, it's always best to go with the warning.
Yeah.
Because ain't no sense of getting in somebody's pocketbook, if you can just have a short little conversation with him and have the same outcome.
Right.
So that's why I can't be a trooper. I can't write a lot of tickets.
It's totally different when you're looking past the traffic stop. When you conduct an interdiction stop on a car. You're overwhelming them with niceness and politeness, because in the end you want consent to search that car. And if you walk up there and you're being mean and hateful right off the bat, they're not going to give you consent to do anything.
Right.
And that's the mentality you got to have, and that's what we got to teach these guys. Plus, you can be kind and polite and professional and be very observant at the same time.
Sure.
You just got to know your craft, but it's not taught much anymore, because there's not a lot of, do you still get the block reports from Gulfport?
I get stuff from ROCIC.
I still get
times.
I still get the block reports, and they're from the Blue Lightning Operations Center in Gulfport. And anytime a major load of drugs or money or something's taken off the interstate, it goes into that, and they send out it used to be a fax, now it's an email, and it highlights some of the larger ones. Louisiana State Police on I-10 still doing it. County in Arkansas on I-40 is still doing it. What is it? 85 or 20 in Alabama. There between Alabama and Mississippi's doing it. But there's not near as many interdiction teams as there used to be.
You don't see them on the side of the roads like you used to.
No, and drugs are still being, I mean, I-40 still a pipeline, 10's a pipeline, 75, 95's a pipeline. All them interstates are still big drug pipelines. But it's just the smaller departments. They've gotten sued so many times that it's not worth the effort. So they're just shutting them down. A lot of the task forces have shut down across the state. There's a few that still get. I mean, it's a really good time to traffic drugs on the interstate if you're a drug dealer.
Wow.
I mean, it really is. There's just not the presence. I remember going down and seeing a buddy of mine in Georgia, and I would go down to Birmingham and cut across. Was that 20 or is that 85? It's anyway. It's from Birmingham to Atlanta, whatever that interstate is. And man, when I got on that interstate, it was every 10 miles there was a team, and they're a team because they're sitting in a median. Door to door. One's watching north or south, and one's watching east or west, and they're just sitting there watching traffic. And something goes by they like, they're on it.
So with interdiction, it's like the sheriff said a while ago, it's totally different than small county time, city time dopers. 9 times out of 10, the vehicles that we look at are totally different depending on which world you're in. If you're working interdiction, you're going to be really looking for vehicles that have A, B, and C. If you're working, small town interdiction, county interdiction, you're going to be looking for vehicles that have, D, E, F, characteristics. And he'll know what I'm talking about. One of the first things that young interdictors get in the habit of is a vehicle going by and you going, oh, that looks like a good one. And our videos, would rewind 45 seconds whenever we would hit our lights or press record. And yeah, it's not a fun time having a DA going, I don't want to hear you make that comment before you. And I'm like, but at the same time, we have court rulings that say, it don't matter what our intentions are. We've got to have a legal reason, to stop you. And with that being said, I can't tell you how many times I've seen a good one and been like, come on, will you please have a brake light and not have a reason to stop them and just have to let them go.
Well, I'll just be honest. I am a tax-paying, freedom-loving, Christian conservative citizen. I'm totally okay with you stopping somebody and going, that looks like a good one. I'm totally okay with you saying that. If I were on the jury, I'd be like, I'm glad the cop said it. I'm glad he has that attitude. He's the right guy for the job. That's what I would be thinking.
Well, that's the mentality.
I sure don't want somebody on there going, I'm not going to stop that. That might be a confrontation.
Right. Blake hit it on the nail head. The profile's different. It's a totally different profile on the interstate than it is locally. And I remember this Shane Fisher, the sheriff in Wayne County, we worked together on the interstate for about 4 years. And we was sitting, both of us, watching northbound traffic. And I mean, you can't take your eyes off of traffic. You got to watch there's a lot of luck involved with interdiction too. And I've always said this, you have to be out there when it goes by. If you're not out there when it goes by, then you don't catch it. And I always said, if I'm out there, I don't want to miss it if it comes by. So you watch every vehicle. And we were sitting in a medium one afternoon, and we're looking for, like I said, we're looking for large amounts of drugs, contraband, and money, and we're not looking for our local catalytic converter stealing tweaker,
Bubba.
But anyway, we was sitting there, and here comes this little Honda or Civic or the Toyota or something, with a couple of rough dudes in it, and this muffler sounded like it was broke off at the motor block, and they go by, and they're both just froze up, looking dead straight out the windshield when they go by. And I looked over at Shane, he was looking at me, and he said, "You want it?" I'm like, "Dude, not really. I mean, what is it? It's going to be some pills and maybe a little bit of weed." And he says, "Yeah." I'm going to go check it. And I said, "All right, let me know." He pulls out. And like a minute later, he says, "Get up here." He says, "One's done run in the woods on me." So I go flying up there, and he's got one in handcuffs, and the other one run off, and they had like 3 pounds of compressed marijuana.
Wow.
So it was totally not what we thought. We thought that it was going to be maybe a little quarter bag and maybe some Xanax. And it wound up being a substantial amount.
So you were talking about freezing up as you drive by, and you see people that do that, and they're like, oh, they get stiff, look like a mannequin in the car. I can see how that would look suspicious. So I heard someone say, and I'm gonna try this out. I got 2 of you guys here. I heard someone say the best way to not get a ticket if you know you're speeding is wave at the cop. If they're coming past you and you don't wave at them like you know them, not in a aggressive manner, but like wave like you know them. And they said that's one of the best ways to get the cop to go, oh, I think I know that guy. But I've heard that actually said.
It doesn't hurt to try.
Wave at the cop as you're going by.
Make sure you use all your fingers.
A for effort.
Not just one finger.
Not just one finger.
Don't tell anybody they're number one out there.
But with what the sheriff said, with that being said, it's actually the opposite. We can't tell you how many times we've had a car drive past us and then them just look over at us and you see them die inside. Yeah. Because those traffickers out there, they know what them cars are, in the middle of the highway. And, the last thing they want to see is an interdiction unit when they've got 16 kilos of cocaine, underneath the back driver's seat. But it's funny. It's whether they're staring straight ahead or whenever they pass you, they turn their head and it's great.
We got out there one morning and it was a nice day. It was a really nice, comfortable day. And we was out there in some really bad cold days, and we was out there. One of the biggest cases I got was like the first week in January, and it snowed. We did a controlled delivery in Nashville with it, and we drove back at like 3 a.m. and it took us 2.5 hours to get back from what's the exit right there at 100 Mills Mall or 100 whatever something. Anyway, but it was a really nice day, and I was in a really good mood, and I was confident I was going to knock it out of the park that day. And I said, my plan today is, I said, I'm going to stop every dark tinted window, every vehicle. Doesn't matter what it is. If I can't tell if the driver is man or woman, black or white, whatever, I said, I'm stopping it. And Shane said, well, you're going to be stopping a lot of cars if that's your plan. And I said, that's my plan. Second one I stopped, pound of weed in the console.
There you go.
He said, I think I'm gonna try stopping for window tint the rest of the day.
But it's kind of like he said about if you're not out there, you're definitely not going to get it. If you don't, whenever I was a canine officer, I would average somewhere, 16 to 22 traffic stops, I think is what it was, a shift. Yeah. And it got to where over a period of a year, whenever I'd have my yearly review, I was averaging at least one case every shift I worked. Mm-hmm. And that's what you want, is you want high volume traffic stops, bam, 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 bam. Because again, if you're not putting them on the curb, you're not going to find it.
Right. How much time we got?
You got about
9 minutes.
Yeah, less than that.
We need to talk a little bit about the fair.
Yeah.
Your favorite time of year?
My favorite time.
Did you get any armbands for the kids?
No, we haven't got any yet, as a matter of fact.
Man, you better get on top of it.
Well, I'm sorry. My youngins ain't felt the best
My
this
18-year-old, it was funny. My 18-year-old, I talk to everybody knows she's working up here part-time. And she's a hoot, man. She's just like me. You never know what she's going to say.
She's a lot prettier than he is.
She's okay. She is. Yes. She's a funny kid. And I said, like I said, and she still acts like a kid. And I said, you going to want to pass in an armband to ride rides again? Or I said, you want a fair pass this year? She goes, yeah, I want a fair pass. And I said, Daddy, are you going to want an armband so you can ride all the rides? She looked at me and she goes, yeah.
And I probably need one for my friend.
It was like, that's a stupid question.
I'm a grown man with 6 kids, and I'll take a fair pass and armband if you'll buy me one.
Yeah, any day of the week. Hey, and speaking of the fair, we do appreciate what the Rotary Club does for our officers. Mm-hmm. They take care of us in a pretty good way. So to all our Rotarians out there, I know the sheriff is very grateful for what they do
Absolutely.
for us. They anybody that for that matter.
Yeah, my hat's off for them. It's a tough week for all of them. This is what my guy over the reserve deputies sent me earlier. Jackson Street is going to be one way.
One way.
What's the hours?
Oh.
Do you know?
I don't, and I don't want to start lying. I don't. I know it's.
But that's westbound, right?
Yes, it'll be westbound only, and then they will have some cones that will direct you north on Marr Avenue, right there where Jackson Street meets Marr Avenue.
And that's where they're stressing the best place to park is over around the old armory on Marr.
Okay. And with that being said, keep in mind that right there at that same location, you can't go south on Marr.
Nope.
You'll have to hit Brannon, hit Liberty, hit the middle part of Jackson, and go south that way. You can't go straight by the Old National Guard Armory.
The biggest thing that we can stress about the fair and fair traffic is watching for pedestrians.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, because the parking runs out quick over there, and so people are parking everywhere, and they got to walk a little ways, and that's you be prepared to walk. I mean, it's not raining, it's not muddy, it's not nasty. Be prepared to walk a little bit, but watch for people. Watch for kids running across the road. Watch, because and nobody wants that. Nobody wants to go to the fair and.
And speaking of kids, there's no greater team than private citizens helping out the police. So let me put in one request where the general public can help us out. If you have a minor child and you take that child with you to the fair, before y'all even walk through the gate, the first thing I would like for you to do is take a picture of your kid. Take a picture of your kid, because two things. It'll show me the kid, and it'll show me what the kid's wearing. That way, whenever that child gets away from his mama to either go, I don't know, play goldfish or just go look at something, you can show exactly what that kid's wearing real time to a cop that can relay that over the radio.
The alligator girl. That's where they could always find me.
That was you brought that up one time before. And then another thing, if they are a small child, and I know this sounds weird, but I heard this last time the fair was here, and I actually thought, man, that's a really good idea. There are a lot of people out there that if their child is young enough where they don't know or they don't have mom and daddy's cell phone number memorized, they will take a Sharpie or an ink pen and write their telephone number
on their forehead.
On their forehead. No, for our listeners out there, they write it on the arm.
Right.
And that's just two really good ways to help us out. Because the last thing you like hearing on the radio is, hey, we've got a missing child.
And we always do.
And we always do.
We always do. We always have 4 or 5 that they can't find their kid, and we got to shut everything down and go on a hunt. Usually they're right there close sometimes.
In line somewhere.
Yeah, knock on wood. We've never had, to the best of my knowledge, a kid abducted or lost or something.
That's awesome.
For anything other than
great.
just a short period of time. Main thing is just getting through this week without any incident, without any major injuries, you're always going to have falls and cuts and abrasions and stuff up there, but anything major, a ride accident or something that happens down there in the infield when they're having a demolition derby or the jump and run, we want incident free, but be patient. Because golly, those lines are. Did you know that they're not selling paper tickets anymore? The ticket booths now, when you go up and you get like a card.
Oh, really?
I guess like an EBT card or something, and they load the
refillable
the stuff on it. So when you go up to get on a ride, they scan it. And
really?
Yeah,
well, that'll make. Well, I could see how it might make things quicker. I don't know.
I got to get a plug in here.
Plug it.
I'm part of the Republican Party,
Plug
chairman. So we got a fair booth. Come by and talk to us. We want to see you there.
I put my sign up there right beside Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. Come get your picture made with Trump. I have my 10-year-old little boy. He's got a Trump mask, and he gets out there and flexes and looks like Trump. And a lot of people were lined up last year to get the picture made with Trump. So we have a good time. It's actually fun. And any elected officials or any police officers want to come out there and actually just greet people as they come by, you're welcome to be there. I mean, we're Republicans. We're not Democrats, so we don't take over cities. We don't believe in no-go zones. We are law-abiding citizens. You don't see Republicans taking over cities and throwing rocks at cops. So that's who we are. And I'm not saying all Democrats do, but they just need to leave that party and come over to the right.
With that being said, there's a lot of people right now trying to figure out how to get a Trump sign. What's y'all's advice?
There's a Trump booth. I saw it today when I was up there.
We have a few. We have less than 60 signs left. We're going to give them out for a donation. Somebody just make a donation. I'm going to give Travis Caldwell a plug. Call Travis Caldwell.
He called me today. Signs. Do you know what he called me for?
He called me as well, so I don't know. Maybe he had some Trump signs he wanted to get rid of.
He's wanting something.
He's actually.
He don't call unless he wants something.
Yeah, he's actually making a lot of awesome Trump signs. So he's got some cool stuff. He'll even customize some stuff for you. The stuff we have is kind of boring, just to be quite honest, but. We got it from the Republican Party. Yeah, we didn't have that many because the battleground states are getting the majority of the signage.
Gotcha.
We're not. We're going to go Trump, Tennessee. Right. So thank God.
They've got our emergency response trailer in a different place this year, and so when I went up there and turned around and looked at it, I saw the Trump booth up there with all the Trump. I don't know what all they got, but I saw some big flags.
So people getting rich on Trump merchandise.
Yeah,
they're making some big money on Trump merchandise. Never before we had a president like this that was running for re-election, and it's just the craziest election cycle ever.
We need him in.
Yes,
Lord have mercy, we need him in. There's so many things on hold right now, waiting on the November election.
That's right,
and me included. I've got stuff that I've just put on the back burner, waiting to see what happens.
Well, he's got an uphill battle. We've got. Kamala Harris, and she was not democratically elected to be on that ballot. She's not been voted in by the citizens of this country, and she shouldn't even be on the ballot. But so we're up against it.
Is that it? We wrapping it up?
I reckon. I think. We got about 30 seconds left.
Well, fair week.
10 days.
Drive safe. Keep your phones out of your hands when you're driving around Rotary Park.
Yes.
Both hands on the wheel. Looking for pedestrians. We don't want anybody getting hurt or worse. Be patient. Don't get in a hurry. Don't get aggravated, because there's going to be a lot of people. And that's it. That's all the advice I got. You got any advice, Blake?
Therapy is great.
Therapy? Go to the dentist and get therapy.
That's it.
Maybe I need to try your dentist out. We out. See you next time.
Brian Leach. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
That's what I'm talking about. Hockey Hall of Famer Brian Leach. I like hearing that. Certainly is a native New Yorker. That's later on in hour number 3 of this 3-hour extravaganza I like to call the Rich Eisen Show.